3-star Lee Sin has continued to rise in power after the last patch, and has established himself as one of the strongest comps right now. With 6 Dragonmancer, Lee Sin gets a giant amount of HP and AP, and becomes an unkillable super tank that can one-shot multiple units. It's personally my favorite comp right now to play, and in this video I'll show you how to master the comp by going over the build, what items and augments you make, how to play before level 7, during level 7, and after level 7, what you do if you get contested, and then I'll go into some in-depth positioning examples. This is a comp that wants to get 3-star Lee Sin and Swain by using a slow roll strategy. This comp is not flexible at all, since almost all our units are set in stone. We will be slow rolling at level 7 with this board, since we need 6 Dragonmancers for this comp to work. All 6 of them are core for the comp. We also add in a Tempest unit to get more attack speed and damage into Lee Sin. The best one to add in is Ornn. You will slow roll with this board until you hit 3-star Lee Sin, and in case it wasn't obvious, you make Lee Sin the Dragonmancer hero in this comp. Once 3-star Lee Sin is achieved, level up to 8 and add a Nico for more frontline, 3 Jade, and also 2 shapeshifters. You also want to replace Set with Yasuo as well when you hit him. And that's about it for the build with this comp. It's probably the least flexible comp in the game, but there are some changes you can make to the comp at level 7 and 8 if you get specific augments, but I will go more in depth on that later in the video. Lee Sin is our main carry, so we prioritize making items for him first. He has 2 core items, and they are IE and JG. This is because his spell only deals AP, and we want that to crit 100% of the time. Since we get a ton of raw AP through the Dragonmancer trait, we want multiplicative scaling to that giant amount with critical strike. This allows Lee Sin to one-shot every single backline champion in the game, and that is what makes this comp shine, as you will kick the tank into the backline, then the AoE damage will crit and one-shot the backline carries. Therefore, other AP builds like Deathcap, Giant Slayer, or Archangels are not great on Lee Sin, since they are more focused on taking out tanks and not the backline champs. We actually want the tanks to not get one-shot by his spell, as this allows us to deal AoE to the backline, by kicking the tanks in that direction. Therefore, we need the crit build with this, and there aren't really any good replacements for IE and JG as the first and second item. The third item wants to be a healing item. Since he is a melee champion, he will take a lot of splash damage. In addition, when he kicks with a spell, it hits incredibly hard, and with healing items, he will get a giant amount of his HP back. The healing item wants to be Hodge, BT, or Gunblade. Hodge is the best as it gives us more critical strike chance through the item, and it also gives us 15% healing and sometimes 30% healing. That is enough healing on Lee Sin, but more importantly, it gives us way more damage. BT gives 25% healing and also gives a gigantic shield on Lee Sin. This item gives us no additional damage, but I still like to take this when I've gotten augments that give Lee Sin more damage. Gunblade is what you make when you can't make Hodge or BT. We don't really care about any of the other units besides Lee Sin, so we don't need to heal them up with Gunblade. At the end, you want to end up with one of these 3 item builds on Lee Sin, with Hodge and BT being the best. Some augments allow you to drop items on Lee Sin, like Celestial Blessing when you can drop a healing item, and Jewel Lotus that allows us to drop JG. In those cases, you want to put either QSS or Titan's Resolve on Lee Sin. Titan's is great to give more tankiness and damage onto Lee Sin, and QSS is great to make sure he doesn't get CC'd and bursted down. But note that you only build one of these 2 items if you end up dropping JG or a healing item. Once you've made Lee Sin, you want to make Swain items. He is your secondary carry in this comp, and he will help clean up some of the units. The most important item to put on Swain is Static Shiv. This item shreds the MR of the enemy team, and allows Lee Sin to deal even more damage to them. This item is also really good while you only have 2-star Lee Sin, as he doesn't have the damage to one-shot all the units in the game at that level, but with Static Shiv, he will. You will only put more items on Swain if you are in a spot to 3-star him, or if you 2-starred him early, so you can use him as a carry throughout stage 3 and 4. In that case, put items like Rageblade, Hodge, Archangels, QSS, or Giant Slayer as the second and third items on him. Here are some final builds for Swain, but note that getting 3 items on Lee Sin first is the #1 priority, so only make items on Swain when you use up components Lee Sin doesn't need. Put tank items on Nico or Ornn, and in the very late game you can also slap some AD items on Yasuo to make him another secondary carry. If you get a spatula, you want to make Dragonmancer emblem every time. Getting this emblem is huge as you can drop Set and play Nico instead. Besides that, if you hit 3-star Swain, you can go for a Ragewing emblem to get 3 Ragewings in, but you almost always want Dragonmancer emblem over a Ragewing emblem. The best augments to take are Axiom Arc, Celestial Blessing, Cybernetic Shell, Dragonmancer Heart or Emblem, First Aid Kit, Makeshift Armor, Preparation, Ragewing Heart or Emblem, Second Wind, Tempest Heart, Thrill of the Hunt, Triforce, Ascension, Eye of the Storm, Inspire, Jeweled Lotus, Earth's Grab Bag, and March of Progress. I mentioned a lot of augments there, and the best ones out of those are Celestial Blessing, Dragonmancer Heart or Emblem, Thrill of the Hunt, Triforce, Eye of the Storm, Jeweled Lotus, and Earth's Grab Bag. The carousel priority for this comp is Glove, Rod, Sword, then Tier. With this comp, we can find all 6 Dragonmancers in the early game, but this comp overall is not great until you have an item or 2 on Lee Sin. The best opener for the comp is Ezreal as the carry, and then have a Guardian or Bruiser frontline if you want to win streak, and run Dragonmancers if you want to loss streak. Dragonmancers are a bit weaker, but still relatively strong. Ezreal is a great item holder for Lee Sin, so you always prefer to play him. Additionally, it can be a bit expensive to hold the 1-cost Dragonmancers on the bench, so if you're not in a win streak spot, you want to play them to not lose out on too much gold as you're not making interest gold. Other openers that work are 3 Jade with Ezreal carry, or Astral Mages with Nami or Vlad carry. Another thing to note is that I like to pre-level on 1-4. This is to have the ability to get 3-cost units in the shop on 2-1. Getting an early Lee Sin or Swain can make the early and mid game a lot smoother with this comp. From there, you need to assess the situation. If you don't have a good early game board, I like to loss streak to make sure I can get the right items on the carousel. Since Lee Sin is very item dependent, we need at least 2 good items on him before we can power spike. Therefore, making sure we can get those 2 items is important when we are not in a spot to win streak. If you want to learn more about how to play the early game, check out my guide where I go in depth on that subject. After you've beaten Krugs, the general guidelines to play Lee Sin is to have 1 component for Jewel Gauntlet and 1 component for IE. You also want to have some Dragonmancers already. If you have a full loss streak, the goal is to go level 7 on stage 3-5, and with a mixed streak or win streak, the goal is to go level 7 on 4-1. Therefore, we can play the early game however we want. One small side note is that if you have taken a ton of damage and you are lower than 60 HP on stage 3-2, then it's okay to level to 6 and roll there for a 6 Dragonmancer board. It's not as good as rolling at level 7, but if you are that low in HP, you are most likely going to be less than 40 HP on stage 3-5, and if you're not comfortable playing with that low of HP, it's better to roll at 6, although I personally would wait until level 7. Which one of those options you pick depends on your playstyle. Once you're level 7, we first need to do a checkup on our HP. If you are low in HP, typically 70 or less, then you need to roll for this board at level 7 with 2-star Lee Sin, and Orin can be replaced by any Tempest unit you hit. If you are higher than 70 HP, then you can greet it and slow roll above 50 gold, but know that 1-star Lee Sin will have a hard time carrying on stage 4 and onwards. Once you have achieved 2-star Lee Sin and this board, we get back up to 50 gold and start slow rolling. While slow rolling, your 3-star priority is Lee Sin, then Swain. None of the other units are worth 3-starring, and the 4-cost 3-stars are going to be very unlikely. One thing to note is that you do not want to slow roll at level 8 with this comp, even if you are high rolling and able to get there with a lot of gold. The extra gold it costs to push level 8 is better spent on trying to 3-star Lee Sin at level 7. Lee Sin 3-star is the biggest power spike this comp gets, therefore we want to get that as fast as possible. There isn't much that we can change about our level 7 comp. If you get +1 Tempest, play Nico over Ornn at level 7, and if you get +1 Dragonmancer, play Nico over Set. Once you get to around stage 5, you want to pay close attention to your HP. Once you drop below 30 HP, you want to all in and roll until you hit Lee Sin 3-star, as we want to maintain 2 lives coming into stage 6. Once you hit Lee Sin 3-star, you will level up to 8. You still want to hold onto the extra Swains on the bench, as you can still 3-star him later. But like I mentioned earlier, Swain is just a nice bonus, and you can win the game with just a 2-star Swain. At level 8, you will add in Nico for Jade and Shapeshifters, and end up with this board. From there, you want to roll for the rest of the champs you haven't 2-starred. Remember to keep chasing Swain 3-star here if you didn't hit him already. Also replace Yasuo for Set or Volibear once you hit him, as he can put in a lot of work, especially with his giant CC knockup. If you are able to go to level 9, you will add in a legendary like Bard or Soraka for more utility, or you will add in another unit based on your augments, like going for 4 Tempest, 3 Ragewing, or you can even add in Shioyu for 6 Jades. That's about all you can do with this comp, as it's not flexible, and if you aren't sure what to add in at level 9, then going for Bard until you get more comfortable with the comp is my recommendation. There are 2 ways of getting contested on this comp: full contested when they're playing the same comp, or partially contested when there's somebody else playing or going for Dragonmancers, but not going for the Lee Sin 3-star. In that case, it will be a little harder to hit, but it's definitely doable to hit Lee Sin 3-star. Just pay attention to the partial contesters board, because if they start picking up more Lee Sins than they need for just 2-star, then you're in trouble, as now you're getting full contested. If you get full contested, things are looking bad, and you have 2 options: contest or pivot. I would not recommend contesting, as there are only 18 of each 3-cost in the pool, so it's possible for both players to hit, but it's very unlikely. If you don't care and you still want to go for it, then make sure you have more HP and overall be farther ahead than the other player, as you have to be able to roll and hit before them. The other option in that case is to pivot, but due to the unusual item combinations Lee Sin runs, there are not that many good pivots, but Mirage Deja or Aoshin can work. First, let's take a look at how Lee Sin's spell works. He kicks the current champion he is targeting and knocks them back. This spell gets hard countered by QSS or Verdant Veil, so keep that in mind when positioning him. His spell also deals AoE damage, so let's take a look at an example to show how this works. Let's say Lee Sin is surrounded by enemy units, and he is currently targeting the Skarner. His spell will then deal damage to Skarner, both the Kenches, but none of the Tarics. Skarner will then get kicked and hit the Twitch. With a full crit build, this will one-shot the Twitch, and then Skarner will hit the wall where Twitch is currently standing. Since this part of the spell also deals AoE, Xayah will also die. Where Lee Sin kicks is incredibly important in this comp, because if you miss the kick or kick in the wrong direction, he will not take care of the carries, resulting in him healing less off the spell, and now he's also susceptible to getting taken out by the enemy backline carries. Where he kicks depends on which unit he is targeting, so in this situation, it's random whether he starts targeting the Kench or the Skarner, but if the enemy frontline is split up, now we can control that he kicks the Skarner, and that he will kill the enemy carry as Skarner travels in a straight line from Lee Sin into Xayah. Now that you understand how his spell works, let's take a look at general positioning with this comp. Here we have Lee Sin in the middle to have range into both corners. Nico is next to him to CC any melee carries that may attack Lee Sin. Auron is next to Nico and the Jade statue to make sure that he ults, as his spell is incredibly impactful. Yasuo is next to the Jade statue, and he will walk up between the Volibear and Lee Sin to not take initial aggro. Swain and Ashe are next to the Jade statue to get extra attack speed, as their spells are very impactful. Volibear is towards the sides to tank for Yasuo and Lee Sin. Karma can be placed wherever to be CC bait. Now let's move on to some in-depth positioning examples. Against the first guy, the big threat is Xayah. There are no way for us to kick a frontline champ into the Xayah. If we put Lee Sin where Nico is, he can only kick the Sejuani into the backline and hit the Twitch. Nico and Volibear are going to be tanking the Xayah damage to not let Lee Sin get bursted down. Auron is on the opposite side of Xayah to slow her attack speed. Against the second guy, the big threat is Corki. Lee Sin will kick the Idas into the backline. Yasuo is far right to walk down and take out the Sona. Nico is out to the left to tank the Cannoneer procs from Corki, and to make sure the rest of our team is not taking that much splash damage. Ashe and Karma are next to Swain to bait out the Bard ultimate, and to make it not hit Lee Sin. Against the third guy, the big threat is Anivia. Lee Sin is positioned to hopefully kick Nico into Anivia. Volibear is baiting out the Anivia ults to make sure our team doesn't get destroyed by AoE. Nico is stunning the enemy Nico and Xiao Yu. Auron is positioned to slow down the Anivia. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below what video you want me to make next, and if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 9,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.